Lord Levy, Michael Levy, is a Labour peer. He was Sir Tony Blair's personal envoy to the Middle East for 10 years and is involved in numerous Anglo-Jewish organisations. Lord Levy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
Do you support this change in the approach from the British government, a much stronger criticism of the Israeli government?
Look, it is very difficult for me, as a very proud Jew, who's deeply involved in our community, and someone who has always passionately cared for Israel. But I do absolutely support the stand the government has taken, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and perhaps it's even a little late. There has to be a stand, not just from us here in this country, but internationally, against what is going on in Gaza. You heard the statement I just quoted from the new Pope and your correspondent, what he just said. It is so difficult to really watch the news, watch television, and see what is going on in Gaza. So the civilian population, to innocent children, and the total destruction. And then to listen to the words of some of the far-right ministers, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, and what they are saying, that to me is not the way I was brought up to be, not the way I was brought up as a Jew.
Do you want the UK government to take the concrete action that it has threatened until now?
I think that it will not do it in isolation, but I think it will undoubtedly talk to the French, the Canadians, and other governments. And I do believe that unless what is going on in Gaza stops, unless the Israeli government does change its position, I do think there may be a strong possibility that what has been said will actually come to fruition, and the government will take a much stronger stand, not just the words, but actually take action, Sarah.
What sort of action can you envisage?
Well, at the moment the trade talks are broken down, sanctions against government ministers, but it could go deeper than that in terms of stopping any form of arms sales and sanctions against Israel. Sarah, I don't want that to happen, but it may have to happen with other countries involved, because what is going on is absolutely intolerable. I endorse what David Lammy said yesterday in the Commons. He used very strong vocabulary, but frankly, compared to some of the vocabulary from some of the opposition, and particularly Yair Golan, who heads the newly formed Democratic Party in Israel, which potentially has 15 to 18 mandates if there were an election, then what he said was far stronger, speaking about how can a sane state carry on a war against civilians, and even how can they carry on killing babies. And these are such strong words. They're words that, as a proud Jew, Sarah, one almost wants to sit down and cry when one hears that. We're really in a very, very difficult situation. Look, Sarah, I was in and out of Gaza so many times historically, and we were so near arrangements, a peace deal, and we seem so far away from that. But Netanyahu is only going to listen to one person, and that is America, and that is Trump.
Can I just ask you, though, you mentioned Yair Golan, and yesterday when Evan PM was speaking to Fleur Hassan Nahum, who was a deputy mayor of Jerusalem, she said Yair Golan is not centre-left. He's a leader of an extreme left party. Everybody's condemned him, including other opposition members from the actual left, and described him as a fringe character. It's very hard here to get a sense of what the people of Israel broadly feel. I mean, is he representative, or is he a fringe character on the left?
I think the only way I can answer you, Sarah, is there is extremity on all sides now in Israel. Extremity on the right, because basically people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, really they were terrorists, and they are extreme. Whether one can classify Yair Golan as an extremist on the left, I think if he were an extremist, he wouldn't be at the moment polling 15 to 18 mandates. I think he's look, he's an ex-army person, Sarah, deeply upset, as we all are, as what is now going on in Gaza.
Just briefly, do you think the Israeli government is guilty of war crimes?
That's a very difficult question, and that is a question that only the courts will be able to determine.
But you're not saying
and
no.
I'm not prepared to make. I'm not prepared to make that statement. That will be for the courts ultimately to decide. But what is going on, is that classified as a war crime?
Lord Levy, thank you very much for talking to us.